Ahoy, mateys, it's me, Miss Norris. And today I'd like to share a fun pirate read aloud with you of the story Cap'n Smudge. Cap'n Smudge was written in 1977 by Stephen Cosgrove and was illustrated by Robin James, and it tells the story of a pirate that's a little bit different. And if you're ready to hear the story, arrgh, I sure am ready to tell it to ya. Here we go. Cap'n Smudge. And this is a cool kind of book because it has the writing on one page and it has the pictures on the other. So I'll be able to hold it up so that you can see the illustrations really well. This is Cap'n Smudge, and I look forward to knowing who this is going to be pretty soon. And if his bird talks, I sure hope so. On a beat-up, battered boat in a very small port on a very small island in a very, very small sea stood the dirtiest, dustiest sea captain in the world. He had gum wrappers stuck in his hair, coal dust on his nose, a filthy smile on his face, and instead of a parrot on his shoulder, he had a muddy, mucky mudlark. He was so dirty and despicable that he didn't even have a real wooden leg, but instead used an old mop handle with the mop still hooked on the end. None of the other sailors or the fishermen who lived on the port knew his name, but they called him Cap'n Smudge. I'm going to show you a close-up of that mop foot, and he's just a little dirty. He has stuff stuck in his beard. He doesn't sound like he's a bad guy, just dirty. Aren't pirates mostly dirty? Now, Smudge hadn't always been like this. In fact, he once was a normal, healthy person like you or me. But one day, while rowing far out into the bay, where his father had told him never to go, his boat was capsized by a large and fairly ferocious sea monster, who, unfortunately and quite accidentally, bit off his leg. So he used to just be an ordinary sea captain, but then this monster capsized his boat, means it turned it over, and bit off his leg. Even then, things would have been all right, for a friendly carpenter in town carved him a wooden leg that was just as good as the old one. But the other fishermen who lived in town made fun of him. They teased and teased, calling him peg leg and old wooden toes, and one day they even set fire to his artificial leg. Fortunately, he was able to put the fire out by dousing it in a rain barrel. But alas, the wooden leg was damaged beyond repair. Poor Cap'n Smudge. People weren't very nice to him. They teased him and set his leg on fire. Being the poor fisherman that he was, he couldn't afford to buy another wooden leg, so he fashioned one out of an old mop handle, thinking that it would just have to do. Well, this did nothing to help the situation, and the other fishermen just kept teasing and teasing until Smudge vowed to get revenge. Dun, dun, dun! So, he wasn't always a bad guy, but people kind of teased him and pushed him until he kind of lost control of himself. And he was going to get revenge. Smudge thought and thought of the ways to get even with all the people that had laughed at him. And as he was thinking, he accidentally dropped a candy wrapper in the water. He watched as it floated gently out to sea, and there it got caught in the net of one of the fishermen. Well, everybody knows you can't catch fish with paper stuck in your net. So the fisherman pulled his net out of the water and removed the candy wrapper. "Aha!" said Smudge with a sly smile. "I know what I'll do to get even. I'll throw garbage and junk into the sea, and then we'll see who laughs last. Ha ha!" So you guys, he's saying that he realizes that the fishermen can't catch fish if there's trash in their nets. So he's going to dump trash into the ocean, and that'll show them. Oh no, look at that. Smudge set about diligently picking up the garbage all over the town and stuffing it in an old dirty bag. He picked up tin cans, old pans, garbage cans, and anything that looked like junk. Then he dragged it down to the bay and threw it all into the sea. "That'll teach you to laugh at me," he shouted. And with that, he went to find some more. So he's already gone around and he cleaned the town. That's pretty good. But he threw it all in the ocean. And he laughed about it. And so it went for years and years. Smudge steaming by in his beat-up old boat, throwing garbage and junk merrily over the side, and the fishermen constantly cleaning their nets. Finally, out of frustration, all the fishermen decided to hold a mass meeting to find a solution to their problem. So he didn't just do this once. He did this for years, just throwing trash into the ocean. And finally, the other fishermen said, "We're going to have a meeting about this and figure out a plan." They all gathered on the port side of the dock on the bay. There were Robert McJames, the tuna fisherman, Large Marge, Sarge of the Barge, who was always fishing for crab, and all the rest of the fishermen who worked on the sea. "What are we going to do?" they cried. "Smudge has thrown so much garbage in the water that the fish won't even swim near our nets." Old Marge cleared her voice, which was something like a foghorn, and said, "Oh, if I remember right, there's a creature that sails the seas who helps folks like you and me, and her name is Serendipity. Surely if we can find her, she can solve the problems of what to do about grudgy old Smudge." With no other choices before them, they set out to find Serendipity. So there's a special monster that helps people who are having trouble, and her name is Serendipity. Serendipity. Suddenly, off to the starboard appeared the biggest, pinkest sea serpent you have ever seen. Marge shouted, "Are you Serendipity?" Serendipity smiled a very shy smile and nodded her head. "Well," said Marge, we've really got a problem." And with that, she told Serendipity all about Cap'n Smudge and his evil, smelly ways. When Marge was through telling the tale, Serendipity thought for a moment, then quickly set off in search of Smudge to talk to him about the problem. That sounds very reasonable of Serendipity. She's going to go find Smudge and see what he has to say about all this. She had been looking for a long, long time when suddenly she saw a large, black, oily cloud moving toward her at a very fast rate. "Aha!" she thought. "This must be Smudge now. When he gets here, I'll talk to him about the problem and show him the error of his ways." She cleared her throat and said, "Mr. Smudge, I would like to talk to you for just a minute if I could." But old Smudge didn't even slow his boat down one little bit and just steamed on by. And if that wasn't enough, he threw a whole can of garbage right on Serendipity's head. Dun, dun, dun! So not even Serendipity can get Smudge to stop right now. Now, Serendipity was mad. All she had wanted to do was discuss the problem, but instead, Smudge had thrown garbage on her. Using all the speed she could muster, Serendipity chased after the dirty old boat. It took a bit of doing, but she finally caught him by running his boat up onto the beach. "Okay, Smudge," she said. "Now what's with all the garbage you're throwing in the water?" Smudge sadly told her the whole story. When he had finished, there was a large tear in Serendipity's eye. With a lump in her throat, she swam quickly back to the port. So she started off very mad, but once she'd heard Smudge's story, she felt kind of sad. And she went back to the port. Serendipity called all the fishermen together and told them what had happened. When she had finished, all the fishermen hung their heads in shame. "But what can we do?" they asked. Serendipity thought for a moment and then came up with a marvelous plan. Quickly, she told the fishermen, and they all agreed. They hurried off to set the plan in action, while Serendipity set off to pull Captain Smudge and his boat off the beach. So I don't know what this plan is yet, but everyone's going into action, and even Serendipity is pulling Captain Smudge's boat out of the beach. By securing a heavy rope around her neck, she was able to pull Smudge and his boat safely back to the harbor where all the fishermen were waiting, with smiles from ear to ear. "Smudge," said Large Marge, when he was safely standing on the dock, "Serendipity had told us that the only reason you're so mean and spiteful is because we don't love you and made fun of your wooden leg. So we all got together and made you a brand new one." And with that, she presented Captain Smudge with the most beautifully carved wooden leg you have ever seen. Take a look at that, guys. With large, muddy tears in his eyes, Smudge gratefully accepted the gift and hugged each of his new friends, promising never to throw garbage in the water again. See, just a little bit of thoughtfulness can really help. So, if you ever see someone different than you or me, just remember Cap'n Smudge and the tale of Serendipity. The end. And now Cap'n Smudge and Serendipity go off into the sunset. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the story of Captain Smudge, please give it a thumbs up at the bottom of the page. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot to me. If you're not a subscriber yet, please click that subscribe button down at the bottom of the page. And don't forget to click aaaaarrrgh so that you know when there's new content available. I hope to see you all again real soon. Bye-bye.